Hey guys, what up? It's Eisenedgy here again. Thanks for dropping by. And before you continue, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it, all the support. And we're coming out with some new and exciting stuff for this trivial format that we are currently in. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. And I hope you enjoy the deck profile and other things that we're not talking about. So first off, I would like to say some of the cards that I think people aren't really paying attention to in this format, at least for rogue deck wise, is Meowls, and I do think that is respectable to not pay attention to it because Parelia and Fulos are just so much more dangerous, and this only hits specific decks, right? Now for this specific deck, which would be Vanquish Soul, I think Meowls holds a interesting spot, right? And I'm mainly saying that because of the Earth attribute that Meowls holds, and it's very interesting because since it has an Earth attribute, you can use it for revealing for things like Borger to burn, uh, and maybe has an application in the main deck if Ryzeal gets hit too much and you're going into a larger event where Malice is a little more prevalent, or even Fiendsmith, right? Like you have Malice in the main deck, you can drop this during draw phase and watch them reborn Fiendsmith, once or twice. The Lurie, you have Lurie, maybe Lacrima, I don't know, depending on the line, but for sure Engraver. So 2 draws minimum into a Fiendsmith combo. So there's applications there. I am currently not running it. I don't think it's great to run it. I just think if you're running a card that wants to stop Malice, you're probably better off running Lancia or Chaos Hunter. Is my preference. Now, that being said, cards like XYZ Encore, right? Like XYZ Encore, insanely great card going second, but like you're giving your opponents draws an advantage. So if it's an advantage game like Vanquish Soul, you don't necessarily want them to just gain free advantage. So now, like if you're gonna kill them that turn, like you're gonna OTK, fine, perfect. Like XYZ Encore is insanely good. Um, but the other thing too is like Lancia. If you're gonna have Lancias in your deck, just generically is an amazing card against a lot of decks. Because it's a floodgate. It's like a monster they can just remove. So this is something I was just kind of considering swapping out for what I already have on the side. Um, so yeah, those are just kind of examples of some cards that I feel like are known. Like these are known, and Meow's maybe a little more known. But what I'm playing in the current deck, I think, are some super underrated cards. Is 3 Ghost Winter Cherries. Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, we've seen this card. We know it's probably had some application, but I'm here to tell you this has application now. If you guys think about it, what is the most impactful card in the format right now? There's really no other answer. It's the number one impactful card in the format is Detonator. So if you think about it, why wouldn't you, if you don't need your extra deck, why wouldn't you just pick up a Detonator, throw it in your extra deck, and if you see this hand trap, you don't have to worry about Detonator essentially for the rest of the duel. It can't be resummoned properly because it wasn't summoned properly in the first place, right? So I feel like Ghost Winter's Cherries has a massive application for decks that don't use the extra deck. And honestly, even for decks that do use the extra deck, just spare one. If your deck struggles against Detonator specifically, and that's the only thing, like just main deck 3 of these and then one Detonator in your extra deck, and you're fine, right? Now, it doesn't completely solve the issue because you need to see it in order to use it, but it is extremely helpful. And not only that, but it is a dark attribute, right? So Vanquish Soul, it benefits even more off of this because you can reveal and then draw one. So I think this card is just insanely good right now in the format. So if you're running Vanquish Soul or any deck that doesn't need the extra deck, Ghost Reaper and Winter's Chairs is an insanely good hand trap. We are also running 3 Fulos. Obviously, 3 Fulos because we'd like to draw cards and we don't have 1 card starters, but Fulos regardless impacts play. And then for an interesting ratio that probably a little controversial, I am playing only 2 Nib and 2 Bell. Now the reasoning behind this is because Nib usually wants to be paired with things, right? So you want your Nib to have an additional effect on your opponent if they're, being or like let's say you Nib first, and then they're like, oh, I have a way to play through that and like reborn under level 4. Well, that's what the Bell's paired for, right? Now on top of that, obviously the Bell is the Earth attribute, so you do like that. Um, it does, like, you get to keep it in hand if you don't really have a use for it, and then you can just use it for your Vanquish Soul plays. So I just think both of these ratios just really make sense, especially for Vanquish Soul. So now on to probably the worst card ever printed. I do think this should get banned, but we'll see if it gets banned at Vegas. I doubt it will, but I'm not gonna be surprised if it doesn't. Like I said, I doubt it. I doubt it will get banned. I would be very surprised if it did, and if it did, thank the heavens we don't have to deal with Shifter anymore. And this deck, I don't know, it become maybe a little less relevant with Shifter gone, but you just replace Shifter with like DD Crow probably, right, or something like that. Yeah. So still playing 3 Shifter though because we have to in this deck. Then we're going with 3 Ash Blossom. 3 Ash Blossom, probably still one of the better cards in the meta right now, just because it's generic, and as well as being generic, it's a fire, so we get the fire attribute. That's a massive plus. So we think of, when you're making this deck, you want to think of like fire as in, an engine supplementary card. And then we are also, for like the I guess, hand trap stuff, we're playing the 2 tactics talents. We're playing 1, let's see if I can organize these, okay. 1 call by, 1 small world, 1 prosp, 1 Rhoda. So these cards in particular, like talents 2 is really great. I am at 42, but I wouldn't cut it. Like, I wouldn't cut any one of these because they're all really like almost game winning, at least for the engine. This lets you find, non-engine stuff that you need, because you don't need your extra deck as well. Small world is very interesting. You don't need to play it at any more than 1, in my opinion, because like it's a hard once per turn, and sometimes you just don't really want to get rid of a hand trap to find engine. And this is obviously engine piece. Call by, there's just all like really good cards that you have room for. So I didn't feel like there should be an excuse to not run them. And then we are also playing 3 Durandal because we like to see Ryzen. This is another way to access Ryzen. It can be activated under Shifter. So that's nice. So that's kind of it for the, like, we're kind of bridging to the engine pieces of the deck here. So we do still main the 1 Tikaboo because Tikaboo is broken even now. Granted, like Fiendsmith Raziel can get over this and just like get into detonator, or not detonator, but aggregator, and pop this, right? So not a huge deal. But 3 Stake Your Soul. These are really good. You reveal your attributes to summon any of your Vanquish Souls from deck. So we are sticking with a CR theme here, except for Continue and Snow Devil. Those are commons and supers. I felt like not playing like this. You have to play, right? But this I felt like was necessary over the Book of Moon. I took the Book of Moon out because I felt like this just helped you push through a lot more plays and like just end on better boards through like a detonator if you're playing second, or through like 2 hand traps if you're going first. Better than just searching a Book of Moon. Then we are playing 2 Caesar, 2 Borger. I feel like this ratio is fine. I don't think you guys need to play more than 2 of each since they're non-starters, and you can search them. And then for the GOAT, best card in the deck, right? Ryzen. Obviously, you're going to be playing 3 of that. And then one of my favorite foilings of any card right now ever. You guys can kind of see the background of that. It's really cool. And then 2 Vanquish Soul Xiaolong. Xiaolong is also really good, but obviously it's not a starter. In your combo, you do like to play as many fires in your hand, or get as many fires in your hand as possible. That way, you can utilize Xiaolong's effect to search essentially twice, once in your turn, once in your opponent's turn, and then you can play in your opponent's turn. So that's really nice. And then we are playing the 1 Madlove and the 1 Pantera. Yeah, Madlove's really underrated, I feel like, as well, especially for Vanquish Soul. I think a lot of people don't try to get to Madlove as much as they should, but Madlove lets you search, your extender. So Madlove's very good, but you don't need to play it at more than 1. So we're at 42 in the main. The extra deck, let's start off with the Cherries targets here. So I'll just start here. So for Cherries targets, we are playing a White Binder, a Spirit Dragon, and a Detonator. Yeah, like honestly, just playing the 3 biggest cards that are hit in the format. Yeah, like White Binder, probably the biggest hit in Malice, and you can play your other Link 3 if you want, the Cryptor. Spirit Dragon, kind of how do they get into most of their plays that threaten you. So you can just rip all the Spirit Dragons from their extra deck, and then obviously the 3 copies of Detonator. So kind of the big three is big the big 3 that you should be throwing in your main extra deck here. I am not speaking well today. What is going on? The 1 Malong and the 1 Aggregator. This is for your Ultimate Slayer targets. So yeah, these are really good going second, for Blue Eyes, and Aggregator for, any XZ. And then you are playing 3, well, not 3, but your Bagoosk, your Zeus, and your Typhon. These 2 come in handy a lot in this deck, especially since most times you end up on like 1 monster and you kind of get into a grind game, and this deck loves getting in the grind game, and it really excels in it. So yeah, Typhon's really important there, and then Bagoosk kind of just helps you get into that grind game, right? We'll put this over here. So, and then obviously the OGs, right? Your Rock with the Vanquisher, your Link 1, you've got your Phoenix, your SP, your Gloomy, and your Access Code. So all really just generic links, solid. You can these honestly might even be flex bots because of how little you go into the extra deck. So most of the time, my like prosp targets do end up being these, or like if I know the matchup I'm against, like let's say I'm against Malice, I'll end up just banishing these 2, right? Save on other extra deck options, but yeah, you don't need to go into those a ton. And then for our side deck, we have our bomb token for Nib and generic token, naturally. We are playing 3 Chaos Hunter. I believe 3 Chaos Hunter is really good in this deck, especially since it's the dark. Not worth maining quite yet, but definitely worth the side over Lancia, in my opinion, just because if you draw multiples, and it's your turn, you draw this for turn, it's not a bad draw for turn, especially if you're trying to play through something. Like if they try to special one of their, they activate their trap, right? And they special one of their Malice cards from deck. You can go like priority Chainlink 1, they go Chainlink 2 to like set a trap or something, right? And that's fine, right? So then you summon this, and then they can't banish essentially anything. They don't have any more interruptions for your board while this is on board, right? So it's just very strong, I think, going first and second versus Lancia. And then obviously your Ultimate Slayer, probably the best card in Vanquish Soul going second. You can send a lot of stuff. And then 3 Pyrrhia. Pyrrhia, honestly, I was back and forth about between that and Droll, but I figured if I'm drawing cards with Fulos and then going second, I might as well just side Pyrrhia and keep drawing my board breakers, right? So that just made more sense. And then the 3 Soul Drain. I know this was a Dynamorphia tech. This is another card that I feel like is underutilized and underrated. But Soul Drain is extremely good in Vanquish Soul because you don't activate cards in Banished or Graveyard at all. So Soul Drain is literally just free against Water and Malice, right? Because it applies for Banished as well. And then speaking of banishing, we are playing 3 DDD or DDG. Mainly because we are scared of Mermail and Water for the time being, but also going second. Like, this is just essentially another copy of Shifter, right? But you can set up your own board before you use it. I don't think Thrust is worth playing to get to this. It's fine just citing 3. You don't really want to ruin too much of your consistency going first. So, yeah, I think 3 is fine for the side. But yeah, that's going to be it for this deck profile. This has been playing really well for me as of late. Shout out to Brandon and Jesse and Tyler. You know, testing with them a little bit and was realizing that this list is actually relatively competitive in this current meta. So, yeah, give this list a try, guys, and let me know what you think. If you guys can get your hands on these, great. And yeah, let me know if you guys win locals. Other than that, peace out. Check out the merch, and till next time, Shinobi.